Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. It is Season 3, Episode 69, and we're going to be looking at the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We got a few good games here. We got Colts at Chiefs, then we got Cowboys at Rams. After that on Saturday, then on Sunday we got the Chargers at Patriots, we got the Eagles at Saints. For now, we don't really have any NFL news or Steelers news since I'm filming this back-to-back with the other episode, so I'm sure we'll have more next week when we do the divisional recap, but we'll see that when we get there. So let's start Saturday, 4:25, Colts at Chiefs. The last time these teams met, it was in 2016, and the Chiefs had won 30-14, but these are obviously very different teams at this point in time. Alex Smith was the starting quarterback for the Chiefs, and now they got Patrick Mahomes, and I mean, just completely different landscapes. So let's look at the injury report before we get into the actual game. For the Colts, Danico Autry, shoulder, and Malik Hooker, foot, are questionable. Watch out for Malik Hooker. He did not practice at all this week, but he is still questionable, but likely a game-time decision. Tyquan Lewis, knee, and Ryan Grant, toe, are out. For the Chiefs, Sammy Watkins, foot, Spencer Ware, hamstring, and Eric Berry, heel, are questionable, while Dorian O'Daniel with a calf and ankle injury is doubtful. So the Colts coming into this game are a bit of underdogs, so I want to talk about what it's going to take for them to win. First of all, Andrew Luck can't make mistakes. Andrew Luck is going to have to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, who is likely going to end up as the NFL MVP, and he's got to keep up. He's got to keep his team in the game because no matter how good the Colts defense has been playing, they haven't played Patrick Mahomes yet. It's going to take him going toe-to-toe, and what it might take is 400 yards. It might take 400 passing yards, or really just, 400 total yards would work too. If he threw for 350 and then somehow ran for 50, it's not his type of quarterback style, but that would work too. That's probably what it's going to take. I'm going to say the minimum amount of touchdowns for the Colts offense in this game is going to have to be 4. They can't score more than less than 28 points to win this game. It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to beat the Chiefs' prolific offense. But another thing that's going to happen, the offensive line, they're going against the best defense in terms of sacks. And the Colts' offensive line is the best in terms of sacks given up as well. So they're going to have to stick true to their guns, and they're going to keep Andrew Luck from getting hit. They got to keep him, definitely no sacks allowed to keep him in this game, and minimal hits and tackles for a loss allowed. So it's going to take that. But I'm pretty confident in them. I feel like Quentin Nelson's just been really good. Anthony Costanzo, all those guys, Ryan Kelly in the middle. Like, they've just been playing out of their mind. There's a reason they've given up the least amount of sacks, and 0 sacks to the Texans defense the last time around. So that's what they got to do on offense. On defense, they basically got to hope for a turnover because I don't think Patrick Mahomes I don't think they're going to play well enough where Patrick Mahomes is going to struggle. I think that they're going to need to get lucky, force a turnovers, get hitting Patrick Mahomes, force him out of the pocket a little bit, get him under pressure. I think that's going to be the key to make him make mistakes. That's what it's going to take for the Colts to win. Looking at the Chiefs, for the Chiefs, really, their defense just has to do something. The Chiefs' defense has been bad all year. They might be without Eric Berry again. It's really up in the air. How they do expect him to play, but it's just he hasn't really played much all year, and he's their best defensive piece probably in the secondary when he is playing. I mean, it's kind of hard with Kyle Fuller, and it's close, but he definitely would be a big improvement if he were playing. One of them's got to force a turnover. Chris Jones going to have to find a way to Andrew Luck. Chris Jones has been incredible this year. He's kind of been a sleeper that no one really talks about. But Chris Jones has been incredible. And if he could find a way to beat this Colts offensive line, it would be huge for the Chiefs to secure their victory. I mean, they're already, in my mind, they're out in front. And what the Chiefs defense has to do is get only like 2 stops in this game, and then they could basically shut it down. Because then I think that the Colts won't have enough time, won't be able to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. Because you look at what Patrick Mahomes got, you got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce to throw to, and the Colts might be without Malik Hooker, their deep safety, and it's going to be hard to keep Tyreek Hill in check if Malik Hooker doesn't play. I know Clayton Gathers is over there, and I know he's going to be a big deal in stopping Tyreek Hill if Malik Hooker can't play, but behind Malik Hooker, it's just not so good. I mean, Mike Mitchell went to IR, so, I mean, I'm not even sure they would have moved him over into that position anyway, but still, they're just not looking as good. And Sammy Watkins might be back, so they might have to worry about something else. So I'm not really feeling very confident about the Colts in this game. They're going to need a lot to go their way. But the Chiefs just look like they're ready to go to the AFC Championship game. But I will never... They haven't proved to me that they could win a playoff game in several years now. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll poop the bed like always, like they did against the Steelers 2 years ago, and like they did against the Titans last year. But with Patrick Mahomes, I think that narrative is over. I think they're going to make it to the AFC Divisional round. So, giving my prediction, I'm thinking the Chiefs win 41-30. John is predicting that the Chiefs win 38-28. And he says that a bold prediction is that there's going to be 9 total passing touchdowns. For my bold predictions, I have Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes combining for over 850 passing yards. Combined rushing from both teams is under 95 yards. And that Tyreek Hill has 2 touchdowns over 50 yards. But yeah, that wraps up the Chiefs-Colts preview. It was pretty quick. Now let's get to the Cowboys and Rams. In the previous meeting between these two teams, the Rams won 35-30 on October 1st, 2017. So a while now. Teams are a little bit different. The Rams are mostly the same, in my opinion. I mean, they got Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, and then the Cowboys have Amari Cooper and really, who else did the Cowboys add? I don't know. I feel like the Cowboys are mostly the same team, at least for the most part. I mean, they got Leighton Vander Esch too, so I'll put that out there. But both teams haven't really changed that much since they met, so it could be a decent score for this one. So let's go to the injury report. Cole Beasley with an ankle, Malik Collins with illness ankle, Blake Jarwin with an ankle, Xavier Su'a-Filo with an ankle, and Darian Thompson groin are questionable. Wow, the Cowboys team needs to be donated ankles, apparently. Whatever they're doing is just breaking all their ankles. But both Darwin and Beasley went the whole week without a practice, but Cherry says he's optimistic Beasley will play. No word on Darwin, but it doesn't really matter, if I'm being honest. Then David Irving, just another guy with an ankle injury for the Cowboys, is out. For the Rams, very short injury list. Ethan Westbrook with a thigh injury is questionable after getting injured later in the week. He got hurt in practice. He was not listed on Tuesday and then got injured on Wednesday and had limited and then did not participate on Friday. So, looking at the game, I just really don't trust the Rams offense. I just feel like they've not been as good in this stretch. It just feels like they're a little... they've come down. It really starts with Jared Goff. I feel like Jared Goff has not been playing at a high level these past couple weeks. I feel like it's just not been very good, and he's not been putting his team in a position to win, and I don't see that turning around here. That's the problem. I think that the Cowboys' defense is overwhelming. You have Byron Jones, you have Leighton Vander Esch, you have a bunch of other guys that are causing problems for offenses, and they're just like a stingier defense. And I think Jared Goff is gonna struggle here because he just hasn't really shown much since really the Chiefs game in Mexico, or what was supposed to be in Mexico. I feel like, excuse me, I feel like if he can get it back together, he could win this game, but I'm just not seeing it. And that's gonna have a ripple effect on the rest of the team. When your quarterback's not doing good, your wide receivers aren't going to be doing good. Brandon Cooks I don't see going off in this game because of that. And, yeah, really, it's going to struggle. I mean, Todd Gurley's still a beast. I think their running game is still going to be A1. I feel like even though they're going against top 5 rush defense, I feel like Todd Gurley is not going to be shut down. I mean, he hasn't played in 4 weeks, which is a little bit worrying, but I think that that rest actually helps him. I feel like he's ready. I feel like he comes out like a powerhouse because he's just got to rest for 4 weeks. I bet he's anxious to get out there and just rush all over people. And I think that's what the Rams are going to lean on for this game. I think that they're going to use Todd Gurley, and then I think they're even going to sprinkle in some C.J. Anderson because C.J. Anderson did well while Gurley was gone, just to give Gurley a little bit more breaks because he was off the final injury report, but he wasn't on it for the beginning of the week. So I think that they use C.J. Anderson a little bit more than you would expect. Really, it's going to be leaning on Gurley and the offensive line. The offensive line has been big. As of late, they've been playing really well. They're one of the best in the league this year, which kind of came out of nowhere. They weren't really expected to be this highly regarded, but they're just opening holes for Todd Gurley. And they've been protecting Jared Goff pretty good. So that's going to be, they're going to be X factors in this game. But let's look at the other side. Let's go look at the Cowboys. The Cowboys, since trading for Amari Cooper, have been a different team. Their offense hasn't been great still, but they've been good enough to play with their top 5 defense. Their top 5 defense has been keeping them in games, and the offense has just been doing just enough to get them through it. And Amari Cooper has been finished with over 100 yards like 3 times since he got to the Cowboys, and he's a big reason why the team got to move on. They beat the Seahawks. He had 106 yards against them, or 107 maybe. And if he can go off in this game, it's going to be a big deal for the Cowboys. I feel like he's going to be the reason they win, if they do win. Dak basically just has to be a game manager. I feel like he's pretty solid at that. He hasn't really lost the team games, and he's actually been a solid rushing quarterback, which you kind of don't expect out of him. He doesn't look like the type to really be a rushing quarterback, but he has the most rushing touchdowns since in the past 2 seasons combined for a quarterback, which you also don't expect, or it might be 3 seasons, I forget which, whenever he was drafted. But yeah, I feel like he should have an easy time in this game. I don't really think highly of the Rams cornerbacks. Marcus Peters hasn't really been playing like he was in Kansas City, because Marcus Peters was never really the greatest cornerback for coverage. What he was a playmaker. So sort of what the Steelers need, but he gives up a lot of yards, but to make up for it, he'll get like a pick 6 here and there. He'll get picks. He'll make some forced fumbles, but he hasn't been doing that this year, and it's showing. Like he's still giving up the yards and such, so he hasn't been as good as a cornerback. Aqib Talib has been mostly injured, but he's also older and slower, and that just doesn't match up well with Amari Cooper. I mean, and Amari Cooper and Aqib Talib are well acquainted. They got to verse each other in the AFC West when Aqib was a part of the Broncos and Amari Cooper was a Raider. So I feel like Amari Cooper is going to have the advantage here against these guys. And the one thing that Cowboys offense is going to have to watch out for really is Aaron Donald. Every team, no matter what offensive line you're playing, you have to watch out for Aaron Donald. He's just probably the best player in the NFL right now in total. He could be an MVP, but he won't be because this league is so offensive-minded. But he's just a one-man wrecking crew. And I feel like the Cowboys' offensive line hasn't played great this year. I feel like they're not that good. I feel like they haven't been the same with the injuries and all the people that moved on. They were in the bottom in the league for the regular season, sacks given up. And granted, they had injuries, and now they got guys back like their guard and such. But Aaron Donald, I feel like, is going to wreck these guys here. I'm not feeling too confident about that. But still, let's get to the predictions. John has the Rams winning 41-17. He thinks Todd Gurley is going to run for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I am actually going to pick the Cowboys. I'm picking the Cowboys to win 23-21. I think the Rams get 8 sacks in this game because, like I said, I don't trust the Cowboys' offensive line. But I think the Cowboys get 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles recovered. I think Jared Goff has a bad day with 2 interceptions, a fumble, and less than 250 yards passing. I think that's going to be the end of them. I think that Jared Goff is going to be the reason that these guys lose. But let's move on to Sunday. Sunday at 1:05, the Chargers are at the Patriots. In the previous meeting, they met up on October 29th, 2017, and the Patriots won 21-13. Not much different in either of these teams. Both these teams are the same. I mean, the Patriots look like they've actually slowed down, and the Chargers are picking up, but the rosters are mostly the same. So let's look at the injury report. For the Chargers, Brandon Faxon, concussion, Hunter Henry, knee, Derek Watt, shoulder, and Kyle Wilson, concussion, are questionable. For the Patriots, it's a short list. Dietrich Wise Jr. has an ankle injury and is questionable. So, coming into this game, Phillip Rivers, in 7 games played, has never beaten the Patriots in New England. And that's going to be a big storyline for this game. It's going to be big as if he can actually overcome it and beat the Patriots in their own stadium. Will he do it? I really don't think so. Excuse me. The Patriots are a weakened Patriots team. We saw this. The Steelers beat them, and Steelers didn't even make the playoffs. Let's be real. The Steelers are a good team still, but that's another story. That's me just complaining. The Patriots are not what they used to be. Tom Brady's slowing down. They're relying mostly on a dink and dunk offense with a lot of rush. It's mostly ground and pound, which has not been the Patriots' way for like 10 years since Tom Brady's been starting. And really prior to that, because for Tom Brady, they had a great quarterback in Drew Bledsoe. It's just this has not been the Patriot way, but here they are, and they're doing it, and it's working. They're still winning. They still got the number 2 seed, but it's just not as good as their prolific pass offense we've seen. And granted, it's like I said, it is working, but will it be enough to outclass the Chargers, who were able to beat a really tough defense last week in the Ravens? Maybe. I think it's really going to be about the Patriots' defense in this one, if I'm being honest with you. Stephen Gilmore has played pretty well this year. In the matchup between the Steelers and the Patriots, I said he was bad, but he's actually been playing pretty good this year. And if he can keep Keenan Allen in check, it's going to be big. Because I think the Patriots can outscore anyone. It's really. We saw them beat the Chiefs earlier in the year. They're still the Patriots at the end of the day. They could be a weakened Patriots, but they're still the Patriots. They could make a Super Bowl run easily this year. And I feel like after seeing what happened to the Chargers offensive line last week, I feel like they could build on it. I mean, their defense has been really bad with sacks. That they've been one of the bottom in the league, and that's been one of their worst things. But if they could somehow build off of seeing what the Ravens did last week, because it was one of the few things the Ravens did right, they might be able to pull out a victory here. But really, for going to the Chargers offense, Phillip Rivers should have a pretty decent time here. He's got the weapons. He's got Keenan Allen and such. And he's got Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler. They're all healthy coming into this game, or at least not on the injury report. And I feel like they should be able to mess with this defense. He shouldn't be under pressure, even though the Ravens showed what could happen if they apply the right pressure last week. It's just I feel like, how do I put this? I feel like what they do is not going to be enough. I feel like it's just not going to be enough to beat the Patriots. I feel like at the end of the day, the Patriots in the playoffs are another beast. Even if the Patriots were weak in the regular season, I think they could come out here and absolutely maybe slap around the Chargers. I don't see that happening, but it is quite possible with the Patriots being so good in the playoffs. And it's just, we're really, the Chargers are in uncharted territory. They last made it in 2013 to the playoffs, I believe, where they beat the Bengals in the first round, but it's just the Patriots are used to this. And so getting into my final score prediction and John's final score prediction, John has the Patriots winning 23-20 in overtime, and he says the Patriots are going to run for 200 yards as a team. I think at the end of the day, the Patriots do win 30-20. I think it's going to be about the Patriots' offensive line. I think the Patriots give up no sacks. Then for other bold predictions, the Chargers don't have a single turnover on offense, so they don't have a fumble, and they don't. Phillip Rivers doesn't throw an interception, and then Keenan Allen gets over 130 yards. I just don't think it's enough. I feel like the Patriots are just going to be able to win here. Not big, just 30-20, but I feel like they're going to come out with a dub at home. I don't think Phillip Rivers. I feel like Rivers goes 0-8 in his career against the Patriots at home. But anyway, we got one more game to look at, and that's Eagles at Saints. On their previous meeting, they met this year, November 18th, 2018, and the Saints wiped the floor with them. The Saints won 48-7 against the Carson Wentz-led Eagles. But now, there's no more Carson Wentz. He is out for this game. It is Nick Foles. It is the man, the myth, the legend. And so, going through the injury report, the Eagles have Alexander with a hamstring, Michael Bennett with a foot, Gibson with a hamstring, Sidney Jones with a hamstring, Jason Peters with a quad, and Mike Wallace's ankle are questionable. And as I said, Carson Wentz is out. And then the Saints were actually really healthy coming into this week, and the only injury they have listed is an injury that happened during practice, and that's wide receiver Simi Cobbs, and he has a knee injury and is out for this game. Not a big deal. I'm not sure he's been active at all this year. I don't think he has. I think he's just been inactive. But regardless, as we all know, the Saints are the team I'm rooting for here. I feel like they're similar to the Steelers. You look at their quarterback. They have a Hall of Fame quarterback. They have a great offensive line. Was, I think, second in the league in sacks given up. And, I mean, you look at their prolific rushing offense and how effective they are on the ground, and you see how good they are at opening up holes. They got two good running backs, which, like James Conner and Jalen Samuels, sort of. I'm not saying Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram are on the same level, because Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram are better, but I'm just drawing the comparisons. They got Michael Thomas, who's an all-pro wide receiver this year, and that's really, it's a lot of good comparisons on offense. I mean, on defense is a little bit different, but I just see a lot of similarities on the Steelers and Saints offense. And for the Saints offense, to win this game, they're going to have to establish the run game. The Eagles have been really good at taking away this year. The Bears weren't able to rush on them at all last week, the Eagles, that is. And that's with two good running backs in Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard. It was just the most effective running for the Bears last week was Taylor Gabriel, their wide receiver, and he rushed twice. And one was for a negative 1 yard gain, so take that as you will. But it's really going to be rough still. Because the Eagles' defense is just stingy, and you would think that the Saints are just going to pass all over them, but I think it is important to establish a run here. Even though their secondary is banged up and injured, we saw the Bears struggle against it. I don't think the Saints are going to have that struggle because Drew Brees is their quarterback and Michael Thomas is their best receiver, but it's still something to consider that they're playing better. Cre'Von LeBlanc has been a great pickup for them, like a kind of guy that was just picked up because of the injuries, and he's been playing really great football for the Philadelphia Eagles at cornerback. So he's going to be a guy to watch in this game, but realistically, looking at the Eagles' offense, you just don't know what's going to happen. I feel like with Nick Foles at the helm, this team is just so much more dangerous than with Carson Wentz. And that's really weird to say because I still think Carson Wentz is the better quarterback at the end of the day. But once Nick Foles gets to the playoffs, it's a different Nick Foles. Nick Foles upgrades. He goes into playoff mode, and it's just something different. And this team around Nick Foles just plays better when he's in there. It's just really weird. And so, like, what looks like should be another 48-7 drubbing by the Saints, it's just when Nick Foles, it just changes the dynamic, even with the great guys on defense for the Saints, and Mario Davis and Cameron Jordan and Lattimore. It's just, you don't really, it doesn't matter because Nick Foles is just going to find a way. And this Eagles team is just going to find a way. The underdogs, always. They embrace it. They run straight at it. And then they punch people in the mouth for calling them underdogs. The Eagles team as a whole is just strange. And for their offensive line is really good. Their offensive line is sneaky good, actually. A lot of people don't talk about it. They talk about the Colts. They talk about the Saints. They talk about the Steelers. a lot of AFC teams, but this team probably might have the best offensive line in the NFC, and it's because of what they do, pass blocking in the trenches or run blocking. Like they're just so good at opening holes and keeping Nick Foles and Carson Wentz protected. It's going to be rough for the Saints defense to get sacks in this one, I think. I feel like it's going to be a lot about how Nick Foles is just sitting in the pocket and not really feeling pressure, which is surprising. You would think that with Cameron Jordan, it's going to be enough, but I think that most of the pressure is going to come from the middle. I think inside linebacker blitzes with Demario Davis are going to be working most effectively here, and I'm mostly saying that on a whim because it's not like they're weak down the middle. It's just I feel like Demario Davis is a really good pass rusher. I feel like it's what's going to work because I love the Eagles' tackles. I think they're really good, and I think that's going to it's going to keep Nick Foles out of pressure in this game. But let's get to our final score prediction and bold prediction for this game. So Saints, for John, he thinks the Saints are going to win 27-24. And I think Michael Thomas catches 15 passes for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. For me, I'm also going to go with the Saints winning 28-23. But you could tell me the Eagles are going to win this game. It's so weird with Nick Foles at the helm because last week against the Bears, the Bears should have won. The Bears should have won at the end of the game, whether Cody Parkey missed that field goal or not. I feel like the Bears are a better team on paper, but it's just the Eagles playing with that next man up mentality that they don't care that they're underdogs. They're going to punch the opponent in the mouth and make them regret it for thinking so lowly of them. It's just they're such a weird team. But still, the Saints team is one of the best in the league. They got a very talented roster, very talented coaches. I think they win 28-23. I'm going to say Michael Thomas has 3 receiving touchdowns. Demario Davis has 2 sacks on a pass defense. And Nick Foles throws for over 300 yards and no interceptions. Because at the end of the day, the Saints defense, I think, isn't undefeated, isn't unbeatable. I think that the secondary is their weakest link. I like their linebackers. I like their defensive line. Similar to Steelers, actually, but so I think Nick Foles throws for over 300 yards and no interceptions. And quickly, I'm going to go over my X factors for all the teams. For the Colts, I'm making it T.Y. Hilton. I think it's going to be about passing and passing just as much as Patrick Mahomes. I think T.Y. Hilton's the Colts' best receiver, so I'm making him the X factor. Chiefs, Tyreek Hill, same thing. I think Tyreek Hill is going to be prolific here because I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be passing a lot. I feel like he's going to be a big deal. Cowboys, I'm going Amari Cooper, actually. I had Leighton Vander Esch at first, but I feel like Amari Cooper is going to be the biggest difference maker in this game for the Cowboys. For Rams, Todd Gurley, easy choice for me because I feel like their offense is going to be leaning on him. Chargers, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is their best receiver. He's one of the best in the league. I feel like if he could beat Stephon Gilmore, he'll have a pretty good day. For the Patriots, I'm picking Stephon Gilmore to contain Keenan Allen because I think if he keeps Keenan Allen in check, the Chargers are going to be blown out. Eagles, Zach Ertz. I feel like Zach Ertz has one of the best matches in this game. I mean, Nick Foles doesn't like Zach Ertz as much as Alshon Jeffrey. Carson Wentz is more of a guy that throws to Zach Ertz more, but I feel like he's still going to be a difference maker because he's a mismatch for most linebackers and safeties. For the Saints, I'm picking Demario Davis. I think Demario Davis is going to be the difference maker in here, whether he forces sacks or just gets a bunch of tackles. I feel like he's been the difference maker for the Saints all year. So that's going to wrap up Season 3, Episode 69 of the Stronger Than Steel podcast. If you have any questions, email us at strongerthansteelpodcast@gmail.com. The links to our social media feeds will be in the descriptions below. So please check it out. And everybody, have a good day.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.